You're listening to Refracted World with Terry Geo, Episode 6, The Holiday Special. Life is about experiences, and some experiences stay with you forever. And that's what I want to talk about today. One fantastic experience I had over the New Year period from 2007 to 2008. I have no notes for this episode. I'm doing it all from memory, but I will point out that although this trip cost a lot of money, experiences don't need any money at all. You can go out walking in the countryside and have an amazing experience. I just feel like as human beings, we should see more of the world around us, but we just look at screens all the time. It's good to look up and look out and see what's around us, meet new people, try new foods, and just have more experiences. And I hope you like this story. It's fun and it's frivolous and it's something that has stayed with me forever. My best friend at the time, Jason, was very ill. He had Cushing's syndrome, which is a tumour in the brain, and it had started ravaging his body, and he really just wanted more experiences in life to enjoy himself because he didn't know how much time he had left. And we'd been friends for years at this point. And for New Year, we decided to go back to America, but to do like a big extended vacation. So we flew to Los Angeles on the 27th of December in 2007. And the plan was to go to LA, then to Vegas, back to LA, over to Florida, and finish in New York before flying home. It was all pre-booked before we went. And then we went on this fantastic, I think it was a 16-day holiday. So we get to LA on the 27th, and we'd already booked like a VIP tour of Universal Studios, and we'd planned to go to a white party on New Year's Eve in LA, and we were flying up to Vegas, I think, on the 2nd of January. We were only spending 2 days in Vegas, and then back to LA before going over to Disney World. So we get to LA, and we're all very excited. We've had I don't even remember what we did that Christmas, but I'm sure it was with family, and it was the usual Christmas fare. But now it was our turn. So we go over to LA, and we stayed in a hotel behind Hollywood Boulevard. So to actually get to our hotel, we could walk through one of the malls on Hollywood Boulevard. And I remember they had an oxygen station in the mall. So you could sit there, and for, I think it was $5, you could suck on a pipe to get flavored oxygen. I didn't try it, but we walked through there every day. And then on Hollywood Boulevard, of course, you can't help but stop and look at the stars and read the names, and that was nice. The first night, I think we just went to Wendy's, had a burger, and then went to bed because we were tired. On the 28th, our first full day in Los Angeles, we did the proper tourist tour on a bus going around all of Hollywood. I was really shocked, though, because I always believed that Beverly Hills were in the hills, but they are not. We went around a roundabout or an intersection, whatever, and there was a sign saying Beverly Hills, and then these huge, massive houses opposite some not so massive houses. And we traveled all around, and the tour guide was pointing out famous people's houses, etc. And then we went right up to the top, and we had a view of the Hollywood sign. And obviously we got some pictures there, and it was really sunny. It was really nice. And I remember it was sunny, but it wasn't too hot because obviously it's late December. But it was still a lot warmer than the UK. And there was this nice breeze that follows us around everywhere. It was lovely. And then the following day, I don't remember what we did, but on the night of the 29th, we went out to the gay bars on Santa Monica Boulevard and, met a few locals. I went to a bar, I think it was called Mickey's, and I had a nose piercing at the time, a septum piercing. And everyone came up to me, oh my goodness, oh look, wow, look at that piercing. Because at the time, it wasn't a common piercing. And yeah, I was getting a lot of attention for my piercing. And I remember I was very drunk and I said, "Oh yeah, everyone's got this piercing in the UK." I was like, why am I even saying this? It's not true at all. Nobody's got this bloody piercing. I think it was before the film came out, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and she has the septum piercing. And after that film came out, it became common. I took it out not long after. But yeah, and we had a great night and met some people. And then on the following day, we did the Universal tour. We had VIP tickets, which meant we got to go backstage, and I think we went into Hitchcock's office and sat in the seat, one of the benches from Forrest Gump, because apparently there were 3 benches. And that was a really good tour actually. There's a car park in Universal. And is it Universal or Paramount? I can't remember now. I think it's Universal. There's a car park with a big screen behind, and apparently that's where the water scenes were all filmed from Titanic. Really, really interesting. I absolutely loved it. And then we went out again on the 30th night, back to the bars. And because we'd made a few friends the night before, they were all there. "Oh, stay, have another drink, have another drink." And we got so drunk. I mean, like, oh my goodness, blind drunk. To the point where Jason, who was a big guy, because of his illness, he was a big guy. And at one point, we're near Hollywood Boulevard, so we're near our hotel. And he just fell to the floor and went, "Leave me, leave me." I had to help him back to the hotel room. And when we were there, I got the camcorder out. Remember, this is years ago. No phones back then. And, well, no cameras on phones anyway. And oh no, it's 2007. Of course there were phones on cameras, but they weren't very good. Anyway, I get the camcorder out and I'm filming him in this really drunken state. And the next morning we wake up and I say, "Do you remember what happened last night?" He said, "Yes, I remember everything." I went, "Really?" Showed him the footage. He went, "Oh my goodness, please delete that footage." And so I did. So the footage no longer exists because he asked me to delete it, and I actually followed through and deleted it. But we had tickets to this white party for New Year's Eve night, but neither of us wanted to go. We both felt sick as dogs. So instead, we just went back to the bars again. And even though we didn't go to the white party, we still got drunk again. Oh, the things you can do when you're young. And then on the 2nd of January, we left our hotel in Los Angeles and flew up to Vegas. And neither of us had been to Vegas. Well, we'd never been to LA before. We'd never been to Vegas either. And we were only spending 2 nights in Vegas. Jason wanted to stay at the Bellagio, the big fancy hotel with the fountains outside. But I love ancient Egypt, and I'd always wanted to stay at the Luxor Hotel. And so that's where we stayed. And we got there and they checked us in and they told us that we were in one of the new buildings to the side of the pyramid. I was like, "No, please, I need to stay in the pyramid." And the woman at the check-in desk said, "Oh, they're not as nice, I said, "I don't care. I have to stay in the pyramid." So we actually got a room in the pyramid with the slanted walls, and it was fabulous. And both of us weren't gamblers. We're still not a gambler at all. But as part of the hotel, I believe we had free food in, I think it was called King Tut's Buffet, which was at the ground floor of the casino hotel. And it was just this, I've never seen so much food in my entire life. We just ate so much. I think we spent 2 hours in that restaurant. And yeah, the first day we went to see the Star Trek experience at the MGM Grand, which doesn't exist anymore. And it really should, because it was a fantastic show. So you paid your ticket, and we paid for VIP tickets. So you actually see backstage as well. But the experience is you step onto the bridge of the Enterprise, the TNG Enterprise, and then you're fighting the Borg. And no, you're not. Sorry, you're fighting the Klingons. And I got to sit in the captain's chair, and that was brilliant. And then the second experience was one based on Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, where you're in a little shuttlecraft and you're having to fight the Borg. And the whole thing, so interactive with all these actors, and then the 4D experience when you're in the cinema section, the whole thing, amazing. Really upset that it doesn't exist anymore, because they could revamp that to modern day Star Trek. Really great experience. That was really the only reason we wanted to go to Vegas. And then the second day, we took a helicopter ride into the Grand Canyon. So Jason found a company that flew a helicopter that landed inside the Grand Canyon, and there was a picnic table. And then what they did, they threw a tablecloth over it, they opened a bottle of champagne, and we had some sandwiches and champagne inside the Grand Canyon. Again, another once-in-a-lifetime experience. And then we flew back to LA just for one night, and then flew to Florida to go to Disney World. And when we were at the checking desk at the airport, we could upgrade to first class for just $100 each. And Jason went, "Oh, go on, we've never flown first, let's do it." So we upgraded to first, and obviously it's only an internal flight, but it is 6 hours from LA to Florida, and it was American Airlines, and it's obviously the front of the plane. We all know what first class looks like in one of those planes. It's in the front of the plane, and we were sitting in the first two seats, and we had real cutlery. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's proper cutlery. And it wasn't an extensive menu or anything. I don't even think we got to choose, but it was a really nice experience. And the woman the air stewardess who was serving us, her name badge, it just said, "Hey, miss." And I asked her, I said, "Why isn't your name there?" She said, "Because I've worked in this industry for 30 years, and with my name there, no one ever remembers my name. They just put their hand up and say, 'Hey, miss.'" And so American Airlines allowed her to have that put on her badge, which I thought was really cool. So we land in Florida, and Jason was still feeling ill from all the alcohol. And we were staying in Disney World, in one of the Disney World hotels. I think it was the Toy Story Hotel. In fact, it was the Toy Story Hotel. But because he was feeling ill, he didn't want to go out the next day. So I went out on my own with the camcorder and filmed it all for him, talking to him the whole time, saying, "Oh, you'd love this, Jason, blah, blah, blah." And so I got to, because I was a single rider, I got to go on all the rides straight away. And that was quite fun. But I did miss having Jason with me. We were really close. We were really best friends. And so we talked for hours. I mean, there was one point where we would phone each other up, because I lived in Leeds, he lived in London. And I'd phone him up, and we'd stay on the line, sometimes for 10, 12 hours, continually talking. We really could talk each other's ear off. And so even though it was nice getting all the rides straight away, it was missing the element of Jason being there. And he didn't go out until the very last day we were in Florida. That's when he started feeling better. And it was him that said, "No, go out," because he just sat in the hotel reading and didn't do anything else. And even though we didn't go exactly at Christmas, it was just after. So they still had all the Christmas decorations up. And Disney World, I've been, I think, 4 or 5 times to Disney World. Not for many years, though. But at Christmas, it really is the most magical. Absolutely beautiful theming everywhere. Absolutely loved it. And then after our Disney excursion, we flew up to New York for the last, I think, 5 days of our trip. And we stayed in a hotel near Fifth Avenue, if I remember rightly. And we did all the normal touristy things. We went to see the Statue of Liberty and, walked around Broadway and Times Square and all the touristy things you do in New York. And then we'd go out to the gay scene in Soho on the night. And the gay scene in New York is fun. I like it a lot. And I like the people there as well. And then there was this one time, bearing in mind, we'd just been in Florida, where it was very warm. Early January, it's nice to be somewhere that's warm. And then you go up to New York, where it's absolutely freezing, and it had snowed. It was thick snow all over the ground. And I remember this one morning, we were sitting in a restaurant having breakfast next to Central Park, and it was where all the carriages line up. I don't know if they line up in several places, but there were lots of horse-drawn carriages lined up, and we said we'd want to do one, a horse-drawn carriage around Central Park. And so we're sitting in this restaurant, and I pointed to a horse. I went, "I want that horse." And Jason looked over. It was an old horse, and he went, "That old nag, that's 2 clippity-clops away from the glue factory." Just something that stuck in my head forever, because it was just off the cuff, very funny. But that is the horse we did get. And we're sitting in this carriage, and the guy gave us a blanket to put over ourselves. Oh my goodness, if it was cold before, it was 10 degrees lower when you're in that carriage. And he's riding through Central Park, and all you're doing is getting hit by snow and wind, and we are freezing in that carriage. My hands were like ice, and we didn't really enjoy it, but we just couldn't stop laughing because it was just the whole situation of me picking this horse that's 2 clippity-clops away from death and freezing in this carriage. But it was nice. And the whole time we'd been talking in New York about the first class flight that we'd had from LA to Florida and how nice it was and how different it was flying from Florida to New York. And Jason said, sod it, let's just book Virgin Upper for the flight home. I was like, can you do that? He went, yeah, sod it, I'm going to do it. And so he did. And I can't remember exactly how much it cost, but it cost a lot of money. But on our final day, as what happens when you're a Virgin Upper passenger, a limousine came to pick us up outside our hotel. And it wasn't a grand hotel we were staying in. So a limo comes and picks us up, and we were allowed to take 2 suitcases on first class. So, well, not first class, it's Virgin Upper. It's like their first class. It's like business, I suppose. And so we'd bought loads more stuff in New York. We bought tons of clothes because it's a lot cheaper than over here. And we had 2 suitcases each, and we put them in the limo, and then you get to a different check-in. I don't know if it's still the same now, but it's a completely different check-in when you fly upper. And the cases just get taken from you, and the car carries on driving, then drops you off outside this door. And then we walked into JFK Airport, and you've got an entire lounge to yourself. And you walk in, and, would you like some champagne? Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, yes, lovely. I'll have that champagne. Thank you very much. So we had the champagne, and then we sit down, and then you have this menu where there's no prices on anything. You just have whatever you want. And it was, would you like a pedicure? Would you like a little massage? Would you like a shower before your flight? Oh, yes, lovely. I'll have it all. And then you get to go on the flight. And we'd been spending so much time in the lounge. And then when you come out the lounge, we're then doing a bit of shopping. And we hadn't heard our names being shouted over the tannoy. And we're then walking for the plane, and there's this little woman, and she runs over to us. She said, excuse me, are you Terry and Jason? Yes, we are. Can I see your ticket? So we showed the tickets. She went, oh, you're Virgin Upper. Oh, come with me. And her demeanour completely changed. She was frustrated and angry because we were late for the flight. But then as soon as she saw Virgin Upper, it was like, oh, no, it's fine. Come with me. And then we slowly walked to the plane, and then she, turned left. And that turning left, I mean, we'd flown first internally before, but turning left on a Virgin flight to fly upper is like a different world. And you walk straight forward, and the cabins have probably changed now. This is a long time ago, but we walked in, and there was a semicircular bar with some stools around it, and a woman stood there smiling. And, oh, hello, would you like a drink? Oh, no, that's fine. Oh, your seat's over here. And then you get taken to your seat, and your seat is actually a pod. So again, it's probably changed by now, but so we got sat next to each other, but you can't see each other because you're in your own individual pod. And then a woman came over and she handed us a glass of champagne. This is all before the flight's taken off. And so we're sitting there with a glass of champagne in our hands, and we just had the most spectacular holiday traveling around the States. And I just stood up and looked over and went, this is the best part of the holiday. And Jason went, I know. And it was just thrilling to be in that situation. And I was always scared of flying before that flight. But when you're sitting there in your own little pod and you've got a glass of champagne in your hand, you just think, oh, I don't care if the plane goes down now. I'm happy. And it's a weird mindset. And the flight isn't even that long from New York to London, but we got the most out of it. So, you've got a massive menu, and you can have whatever you want, whenever you want. If I wanted to eat a 3-course meal and then a bacon sandwich straight after it, you could. And the wine just keeps on coming. And I looked at the wine list. And I said, oh, could I have some Chardonnay, please? She went, and she leant down to my ear. I'll never forget this. She leant down to my ear, knelt down and said, don't have the Chardonnay, that's what common people drink, and smiled. She said, try the Sauvignon Blanc, that's much better. And ever since that moment, I have never drunk Chardonnay since. I'll drink a lot of different wines, but I'll never drink Chardonnay, but I mostly drink Sauvignon Blanc because the woman on that flight told me to. I know it's ridiculous and it's so stupid, but yeah. And the thing is, I can always taste, if someone serves me wine and I don't know what it is, if I taste it and I can taste that it's Chardonnay, I'll go, I can't drink it, it's Chardonnay. How do you know? Because my brain has now associated that with a bad taste. That's why. And you can even sit during the flight, you can get up and you can sit at the bar and you've got a little seatbelt on the stool and you sit there and she will make you any drink in the world. They don't have a cocktail menu, or at least they didn't. But if you know the ingredients, she will make them. She will open any bottle and make it. So we had loads of different cocktails that we'd never tried before because they were too expensive. Most of them we didn't even like, but it's fine. You just have another one. And you also get a free treatment on the flight. So you can have like a 30-minute massage or a pedicure or manicure. So I went for the massage. And, you've got your little screen that pops out. And then when you're tired, so you have a footstool in front of your seat as well in your little pod. So a friend can sit on the stool and then you can put the table down. We can play cards and things like that. Because Jason and I used to love playing cards. Wherever we went in the world, we would play cards all the time. And the same game all the time. And we loved it all the time. But that stool also doubles up as a leg. So what happens is your seat turns over and turns into a bed, and then the bed rests on that stool as well. And then, so I think I got about an hour's sleep because it's not that long a flight, and I was too excited. I just wanted to enjoy the the amenities of the flight. But yeah, I got about an hour's sleep on the flight as well in my little bed. And then when we landed, we were still gushing about the flight. And I think we still gushed about that flight for years later. And here I am now gushing about that flight. And I personally now, I can't afford a flight unless we're going in economy. But once you've sampled that, going back into economy is awful. We did do it again, only the once though. But yeah, it is a different world, but it just costs far too much money. So we get back to the UK, and it's now January, and it's miserable in the UK, but we were filled with amazing memories from a fantastic once-in-a-lifetime trip, and I have never forgotten that trip. I didn't have any notes for this episode. I just did it all from memory because things like that stick in your brain forever. And that's why it's important for us all to have these experiences and these memories that will last a lifetime. This all happened in 2007, beginning of 2008, and still it feels fresh in my mind. I still remember the tastes and smells and sounds and sights from that trip, and I always will. And so if you're ever thinking, oh, should I buy, this, or should I go away, travel. If you can afford to, travel, because seeing the world and experiencing these things, they don't just last that holiday time, they really do last a lifetime. And if you ever get the chance to fly Virgin Upper or first class, I highly recommend it. It's wonderful, and hopefully one day I'll be able to afford to do it again too. Thank you for listening to my festive episode and talking about my holiday in the States, and I hope you join me for the next episode. Until then, take care.